Okay, picking up where we left off the other day. And supposedly we'll finish Midsummer Night's Dream. Not likely, but we'll see. We left off Act 1, Scene 1 with Lysander telling Hermia about his dowager aunt and how they could go off to the wood. And I had up on the board here the other day, wood and Athens, the two settings. This, unnatural, chaos, disorder, no law. And this is the opposite. This is natural, order, harmony, law, rule, civilization, etc. Okay? They can go off and get married. And she's like, sounds great. Helena comes in, line 179 or so. Hermia says, Godspeed for Helena, whither away. It's like Helena comes in and looks like she's going to leave soon. And she says, why do you call me fair? That fair, again, what is meant by the word fair? Beautiful. Beautiful. That's all it means, all right? That fair, again, unsay. Demetrius loves your fair. That is, Demetrius loves your beauty. So why does Helena, again, bring up Demetrius? She loves him. Why? We talked about this the other day. You weren't here, but because he wooed her, we were told. Okay? Lysander tells Theseus how Demetrius stole Helena's heart. And she goes on and talks about, Hermia and Demetrius and such. Hermia, I frown upon him, 194, yet he loves me still. Explain what she means.
He likes me, but I don't like him.
I don't like him. She wants nothing to do with him. Oh, that your frowns would teach my smiles such skills. Maybe you could teach me to have my smiles have the effect that your frowns have on him. I give him curses, yet he gives me love. Oh, that my prayers could such affection move. Notice what Helena is saying. Oh, go away. MTSU Blue. Notice what Helena is saying about Hermia and Hermia's power, so to speak, over Demetrius. If only I had your powers, that my prayers could such affection move. In other words, she's saying, my prayers are ineffectual. She doesn't mean like prayers to the goddess of love, Aphrodite and stuff. She just means my prayers that Demetrius would turn his eyes towards me. She's saying that Hermia is able to move, that is, have control on Demetrius' love. The more I hate, the more he follows me. The more I love, the more he hateth me. What should maybe Helena try? Everything Hermia has said what so far?
She's mean to him.
She's mean to him. She doesn't give him the time of day. She doesn't smile at him. She doesn't look at him. If she does, she frowns. I hate him. What has Helena been doing up until this point? We're going to hear in a few moments when they go into the wood. We're going to hear what Demetrius says about her, okay? She's fawning over him, okay? Maybe she should stop and not fawn over him. Just throwing that out there. So, they go back and forth, and Hermia says, well, you won't have to, worry about Demetrius and me anymore. Why? She says, because Lysander and I are going to run off to the wood and get married. So I won't be here for Demetrius to do to me what you are doing to Demetrius. She doesn't use those exact words, but notice that is what implied. Okay? So, she tells Lysander, keep good word. That is, keep it to yourself. Don't let anybody else know. What has she just done? She's just told Helena. And Lysander leaves. Okay? Helena then speaks after Lysander and Hermia both leave. She gets a soliloquy. I believe it's the first one in the play. Now, a soliloquy is what? Anybody know?
A speech that only that character in the audience hears.
A speech that only that character in the audience hear. Why only that character in the audience? Because a soliloquy is delivered when there is one person on stage. Dictionary kind of definition. Okay? It is one speaker. There's nobody else around. Because a soliloquy figuratively is doing what?
Informing the audience.
Of?
The character's thoughts.
That's it. The character's thoughts. It's like the character is thinking out loud. It's like the audience gets to go between the ears and see what's going on. That's why no one else can hear it. Which is why when we get to Hamlet, to be or not to be is not a soliloquy. Okay? It's often called the greatest soliloquy in the English language. Often. Almost every literature book refers to it as the greatest soliloquy in English literature. It is not a soliloquy. I don't understand why they say that. So, Helena gets the first soliloquy. How happy some or others can be. Some or others can be. Through Athens, I am thought as fair as she. What does she immediately start to do? Talking about her happiness is what? In comparison to someone else's. Through Athens, I'm thought as fair as Hermia. Actually, that is an understatement. Okay? Helena is thought of as fairer than Hermia. Helena's tall, Hermia is short. Helena is kind of your Nordic goddess, very pale skin. Probably, don't remember if there's an actual literal of this, but I think there is. Probably blonde hair, natural, blonde hair, okay? Hermia is darker skinned with dark hair, black hair. It's referred to as raven, okay? Renaissance ideas of beauty. Do I have something I can use? No, I do not. Yeah, I can. Renaissance Elizabethan notions of beauty are for women this kind of complexion. Notice, not this kind or this kind of complexion. How do you get this white? Paint. Or one of the methods, Elizabethan England, because it had just recently been discovered from the New World, powdered sugar on the face. And also Elizabeth had a thing for sugar. That's why, when almost every painting of her lips are closed, it's because her teeth were rotted. She was a sugar junkie, essentially. Okay? But it's this idea. Notice, what kind of idea of beauty is this? Totally false, right? Totally artificial. There is nothing natural about, maybe brand new newborn, but I had 4 kids. None of my kids were this white when they were born.
Hey, mine is.
Oh,
Hey.
okay. Beautiful child, fair, let's put it that way, okay? Shakespeare plays with that notion of beauty. That's why he has this one sonnet where the mistress, the lover, is described as the opposite of this. My mistress's eyes are nothing like the sun. And he goes on and kind of tears it down because he's saying something about real beauty. It has nothing to do with skin. It has nothing to do with appearance, really. So, she's thinking this. Why? Because this is also Greco-Roman. I am thought as Pharisee, but what of that? In other words, it doesn't matter. Why? Demetrius thinks not so. Demetrius does not think I am as fair as Hermia. Is that because he's stupid? Is that because he's blind? He will not know what all but he do know. He will not. The will there doesn't just mean he doesn't. It means he chooses not to know what everyone except him knows. I am as fair, as beautiful as Hermia. So why doesn't he think that? What's the phrase we have? Where is beauty?
Yeah, the beholder.
It's in the eye of the beholder. Beauty isn't out there. Beauty is in here. It's where the eye of the beholder lights upon. And I use those terms very specifically. Medieval early Renaissance view of sight, vision, is because our eyes are shooting out beams of light. And when they light on something, that thing is lit up and those beams reflect back. And that's how we see. What's the obvious truism that proves this is false? Do you see beams of light going all over? No, you do not, okay? But this is why the idea of the gaze is so important. And it is also why, in medieval and Renaissance literature, young man and a young woman should never look deeply into each other's eyes. Because what happens with those eye beams? It's like eye sex. Okay? And they fall in love. So, Demetrius thinks not so. He will not know what all but he do know. And as he errs, doting on Hermia's eyes, so I, admiring of all his qualities. Now, when she says admire, we get the modern English word admiration and such. What is partly involved in those words? To admire something in admiration.
Observe or witness.
Louder?
So like observe or witness.
Yeah, but it leads to something on the part of the one who is admiring. It's almost like a loss of reason. You become so enamored of that amored, in loved, that loved inside put in you. So I admire in his qualities things base and vile, holding no quantity. Love can transpose to form and dignity. Things base and vile. These keys, love, poor example, but you get the idea. Love can do what? Transpose, turn into, form and dignity that is worthy of love. How does that happen? So she, admiring of his qualities, does what? She can transform base things. Now, she might be suggesting maybe there are some flaws in Demetrius. What do we know already from what we've heard? What is a flaw of Demetrius? He's inconsistent. Or in Shakespeare's day, they would have used the word inconstant. How do we know? He first loved Helena. And he went, oh, there's a brighter, shinier, prettier thing. Hermia. And he ditched Helena. So, you are able with your eyes to turn things base and vile into, because of love, something with form and dignity. Love looks not with the eyes, but with the mind. Remember last week I did Shakespeare Sonnet 116? Let me not to the marriage of true hearts, minds admit impediments. Notice she's saying love is not what necessarily. not an emotion. It's not the fuzzies. It's not how you feel when you, and look at the phrase that we use to describe it, when you fall into love. Because falling into love implies what? I tripped and I have no control. And now you're in love. That metaphor is the opposite of what Helena is saying. Helena is saying love is based where? It's up here. Does that mean, you're thinking of loving someone? Do you get a yellow pad and you start walking around and go, let's see, pros and cons? No, it's not like that. She knows that. Love's look not with the eyes, but with the mind, and therefore is winged Cupid painted blind. Cupid is always painted as blind. Why? According to those images, it's supposed to be because Cupid, he's Stevie Wonder with a bow and arrow, and he's shooting arrows like this. What does that mean? You never know who love is going to strike next. Right? Meaning, you don't have control over it. So, nor hath love's mind of any judgment taste. That is, nor doth love's mind reason, rationalize. Now, she seems to be saying the exact opposite thing now. She's being contradictory. Why? Love often doesn't make sense. And we say things in love that we will then say the opposite shortly thereafter. So, the whole soliloquy is designed to bring us to the end of the soliloquy. And what does she say? What is she going to do? She's going to tell Demetrius what Lysander and Hermia are doing. For what purpose? So that he can run off and stop Lysander from taking his wife, soon to be, he thinks. No, so that she can follow him into the forest. Okay? Act 1, Scene 2. Comic scene. Right? The first scene, how funny is that for a comedy? So you got Theseus is going to marry Hippolyta in 4 days, and Aegeus brings in his daughter and says, I want her to marry this man, and if she doesn't, I want her dead. And Theseus is like, calm down. Hermia, she gives her spiel, and he says, okay, so here are your options. You marry him or you're dead. That's option 1. That's 2 options. Marry him or you're dead. There's 1 and 2. Or you become a nun to virginity the entire rest of your life. Okay? Doesn't start so well, does it? Why? I had on the board the other day, how comedies and tragedies work. This is the rupture in society. I mean, everything can fall apart from this one little intra-family thing. So then we get what are called the rude mechanicals, or the rustics. Rude, not because they don't know their manners. Rude meaning uneducated. These are guys who work with their hands all day. And that phrase isn't in Shakespeare. That phrase comes from critics and such later. It's an elitist attitude. What does it imply? Skilled tradesmen are not so bright up here. I've known, I woodworked myself, done construction, all that kind of stuff. Most construction guys I know, they can do the calculations for building a house up here. Look at a set of plans and just start, They're not dummies. So, why do we get the scene with the mechanicals? It's a short one. We get introduced to Peter Quince. He's kind of a leader of the group. Okay. Enter Quince the carpenter. Snug the joiner. A joiner is someone who makes things like desks, tables, chairs, window frames, etc. Bottom the weaver. Flute the bellows mender. And the only bellows he would mend would be bellows for a forge, for a smith, in other words. And Snout the tinker. Tinkers are kind of jack of all trades. They do a little bit of everything. Oh yeah, and Starveling the tailor. Every one of those is a skilled trade. Okay? And they come in for what purpose? What did Theseus tell Philostrate or Philostrate to do?
Gather actors and stuff to do it.
Rouse the youth of Athens to do what? To put on shows for our wedding night. So we'll have the wedding, and then we'll have a big party. We'll have jugglers and dancers and sword swallowers and flame swallowers, all that kind of. We'll put on shows. Cool. So they're going to do that. Okay? So, Bottom says, what's the play we're going to do? Line 9, 8, 9, and 10. Quince, our play is the most lamentable comedy and most cruel death of Pyramus and Thisbe. A lamentable comedy is an example of what type of speech? What figure of speech? It's an oxymoron. If it's lamentable, it is something that you grieve over. If it's a comedy, common parlance, it's something that's funny. Usually something that you grieve over isn't funny, unless you're twisted, you know. And most cruel death, no, that makes sense, of Pyramus and Thisbe. Pyramus and Thisbe, another ancient Greek story. Two lovers separated by their family and the Bosporus Strait, modern day Constantinople. Nope. Modern day Istanbul, used to be Constantinople. Okay? And Pyramus falls in love with Thisbe. Her parents won't let him have anything to do with her, and they eventually both die at the end. Okay? So, he starts handing out parts. Peter Quince does. Bottom, oh, it's a good piece of work, I assure you. He doesn't know what it is. He's never read it. He's never heard of it. He's just, someone says something, and he has an opinion to give. He's a perfect exemplar of, if you don't have anything to say, shut up. And I should throw this out. Bottom is one of Shakespeare's all-time most hilarious comedic characters. Actors who want to play Bottom want to do so because they can throw off all inhibitions. I mean, they can just go so over the top because Bottom demands that kind of portrayal. He has no checks and balances on his personality, right? So, Quince says, you're going to play the part of Pyramus. What is Pyramus? A lover or a tyrant? He says, a lover that kills himself most gallant for love. Ooh, that will require some tears in the true performing, if I do it. And then what does he say? Let the audience look to their eyes. Think about that for a moment. How can you look to your eyes? How can you look, literally, to your eyes? You can't, because you look through your eyes out there. I will move storms. This is a description of his acting ability, he's suggesting. I will condole in some measure. To the rest, but my chief humor, that is my soul, I'm better for a tyrant. Or beat down people, you know. And he quotes a passage, not Pyramus and Thisbe, something else. He says, no. So Quince hands out more parts. And look what Bottom does. He says, Francis Flute, here, Peter Quince, you must take Thisbe on you. Okay, there's a reason I did Flute's voice higher. He's the youngest person. Shakespeare's day, if you didn't know this, if you hadn't read the introduction, in Shakespeare's day, all the women's parts were played by boys or young men, like 11, 12, up to 19 and 20. which is why Flute says, "Nay, Faith, let me play, woman. I have a beard coming." Like he's got 3 or 4 whiskers. He's like, "I'm going to have a beard soon." Okay? No, it doesn't matter. You'll play it in a mask. That is, we'll put a mask on you. Okay? Bottom. "Let me hide my face and I'll play Thisbe too." So he's going to play Thisbe's lover and Thisbe, he's suggesting. Now, is Bottom being facetious? Is he just joking around? Or is he being serious? Bottom is being serious. He thinks he can do both. And then as each part gets announced, he's like, "I'll do that one." Actors, really, really good actors, every now and then, they'll put on, I'm going to use gender term, and it's only because the actors I'm thinking who have done this are men. They'll put on a one-man play. It's not a one-man play where you have one part. For example, Patrick Stewart has done a one-man play version of A Christmas Carol. He does all the parts. Kevin Kline has done the same thing. Okay? I think Kevin Kline's done a one-man version of one of Shakespeare's, and I can't remember which one, because I've seen it. It's amazing. I mean, it's shortened. It's not a full 3-hour play, okay? But that's what Bottom attempts to do, and Peter Quince has to kind of keep slapping him down. You're Pyramus, right? Why does Shakespeare give us this scene? He's kind of telling his audience, just hold on to your seats, folks. This is going to get really, really weird and really funny, okay? Act 2. So, Act 1 is in Athens. Act 2 is in the wood. And we stay in the wood from Act 2 through, I believe it is, through 4:1. And then from 4:2 to the end is back in Athens. Okay? So all of Act 2, all of Act 3, and Act 4, Scene 1 are in the wood. That's the majority of the play. The most of the play exists over here, all right? So 2:1, we get introduced to Puck. The idea of Puck is really old. It's not Shakespearean. You've got the Puck kind of character in India, ancient India. You've got it kind of in Germanic literature. Think Loki, trickster god. You have it in the idea of the poltergeist, this trickstery spirit. It's an Indo-European idea, probably to explain away things that shouldn't happen that happen. How do you explain, I put my keys there and they're not there. It's a Puck, or Pook, as it's also called, all right? So, Puck comes in with another spirit and he asks him, "Where are you going?" And the other fairy responds and says, "Our queen and her elves are on her way." Puck, line 18. "The king doth keep his revels here tonight. Take heed the queen come not within his sight." Why not? King and queen, first of all, implies what?
Married.
They're married. The king and queen are married. Puck says, "Tell your queen not to come here. This is where the king's having a party." Why? "For Oberon is passing fell," that is angry, "and wrath, because that she as her attendant hath a lovely boy, stolen from an Indian king. She never had so sweet a changeling." Whole bunch of little ideas there. So the queen has a little Indian boy that she's stolen from an Indian king, and he refers to him as a changeling. Changeling means Titania has taken this boy and in his place put an elf. Okay? So what he thinks of as his son isn't really his son. And we're going to get told later on why she's done this. The boy's mother was a votress of hers. That is, she prayed and worshiped, so to speak, to Tanya, and is apparently dead. And to Tanya, as a kindness to the dead mother, is bringing the boy into her train, her followers, and will train him up and teach him and all that kind of stuff. Angelus Oberon would have the child. Would there means wishes to. Oberon wants the boy. Why? Because he wants to make him a knight, meaning a follower in his train. So, husband, wife, doing what? Fighting over a kid, a child. Fairy, are you that knavish sprite called Robin Goodfellow? Are not you he that frights the maidens of the villagery? Skim milk, that is, you turn milk to skim, it loses all its fatness, all its good stuff, you know. And sometimes labor in the kern and bootless make the breathless housewife churn. That is, she's sitting there, she's churning cream to make butter and it just won't turn to butter. Sometimes make the drink to bear no bar, mislead night wanderers, that is, lead them oft astray. Isn't that you? Thou speakest right. Two characters actors love to portray in Midsummer Night's Dream, Bottom and Puck. Because Puck's I almost said evil. It's not right. Puck is the elf version of Bottom. I am that merry wanderer of the night. I jest to Oberon and make him smile. When I a fat and bean-fed horse beguile, neighing in likeness of a filly foal. In other words, he beguiles a horse, masculine, in the form of a filly, a female horse. Okay? Just, is he thinking about the concerns of the horse? No, he's not. He thinks it's funny. Okay? So, he gives other examples. And Puck finishes, here comes Oberon, fairy, and here my mistress. Would that he who? Puck? Oberon. Would that I wish Oberon wasn't here. So they come in, and they probably come in, if you think of an Elizabethan stage, think of Shakespeare's stage. So here's the stage, about 42 feet wide, 24, if I remember correctly, feet deep. The globe is shaped like this, and you have 3 tiers here. This is not produced first in the globe. This is first produced when it's the theater, okay? And then back here, you've got a big building called the tiring house, where they change and such, okay? Tiring house. And then there are 2, sometimes 3 doors, okay? And the doors are covered on the stage side, often by curtains. When the doors are meant to be open, they just pull the curtain to the side. 2 big columns, which hold up the ceiling. Ceiling, I'll post some pictures. Ceiling, you look up at it, and it's painted with the heavens. And you got the stars and the signs of the zodiac and all that kind of stuff. The stage itself has a trap door right in the center, so that you can have people, can have like demons come up from hell, or the dead rise. And then from here, from the thing that overhangs, you've got machinery up above so that somebody can be lowered down, so that when you have a Deus Ex Machina scene, God from the machine, somebody comes down and rescues, etc. It's also so people can be resurrected if they're doing, certain other plays. Okay? So, door here, door here. Oberon and his train come out one door. Titania and her train come out another door. And they meet somewhere in the middle, like opposing armies. Ill met by moonlight, proud Titania. Not a good meeting. It should be wonderfully met by moonlight. Why? They're creatures of the dark. Elves have their greatest powers and sway over humanity at nighttime. In fact, we're even going to hear when the sun rises, they've got to go back off and hide, so to speak. Titania. What? Jealous Oberon? Why does she call him jealous? Did she have a honey on the side, so to speak? Or is she saying, I've got a honey on the side, I've got a hunk on the side?
It's the kid.
It's the kid. He's jealous of the kid. He's jealous of her attention to the child. Titania is saying. Yeah, we don't know if that's the case. What? Jealous Oberon? Very skip hint. She's talking to her own. Let's leave. Why? I have forsworn his bed and company. Now, what would it be if Shakespeare just said, I have forsworn his company? It means I don't want to be around him. I have forsworn his bed and company is also telling us what?
She ain't sleeping.
Yeah, I ain't sleeping with him. This is not a good marriage at this point. Things are really bad. Okay? Tarry, rash wanton. Am not I thy Lord? Now, I don't know which version you have, if you got this one, if you're using a different edition. But in my edition in Bevington, Tarry, rash wanton, you've got a footnote, line 63. Wanton, headstrong creature. Yeah, it can mean that. It can mean something else too. The other thing it can mean is slut. See, eyes go really big. A wanton person is a promiscuous person. Tarry, rash, wanton. Whoop, stop right there. Rash, loose, wife of mine. Yes.
I have my modern translation, and the translation says like Terry rash wanton. My modern text says, "Wait just a minute, you brazen hussy."
There you go. That's like a early 20th century, late 19th, you brazen hussy, But I'm glad it gives that. So, so he finishes, am not I thy Lord? What does he mean by that?
I'm still your king.
Not Shakespeare's day. Greek, ancient Greece. Your king. They're husband and wife. What does he mean? On your knees. Again, in Greek society, not the elves, but in Greek society, what standing place do women have? None. They're property. Okay? Elves are different, but he's still saying, I'm your Lord. Which means, you shouldn't be so uppity to me. Then must I be thy lady. And I think she says that very demurely, bats her eyelashes. But I know when thou hast stolen away from fairyland, and in the shape of Corin sat all day playing a pipe, and she gives this image. And again, I think she's saying that all demure, like, yes, Lord, my husband, I worship the ground you walk on. And sometimes when you walk away, what does she say he does? You take on the form of Corin the shepherd. This is a standard trope or type of character in Elizabethan literature. This is the farm boy, or the guy who works the fields. You have Corin the swain, and what's the other name she uses? Amorous Phillida. Okay? Phil, love, and I think the Ida is like little. Okay? She says, I know when you leave fairyland, you go off into the human world, and you have women lovers. Why are you here? Oh, I know why you're here. Because of the bouncing Amazon. No gloss in my book. What the hell does Shakespeare mean by having Titania refer to Hippolyta as the bouncing Amazon? I think it's probably breasts or breast. Because if she's a real Amazon, she cut one off to make it better to use an arrow. How else where else does bouncing figure in? Does she bounce like a bunny or? Okay? Here's why you're here now. Hippolyta. Your buskined mistress and your warrior love. Buskined referring to the clothes she wears. To Theseus must be wedded, and you come to give their bed joy and prosperity. That is, you've come to bless their wedding. How canst thou thus for shame, Titania, glance at my credit with Hippolyta? My credit with Hippolyta. That means Hippolyta's belief, trust in, devotion to me. How can you even bring that up? Knowing I know thy love to Theseus. How dare you imply something about our relationship when I know, you've been shagging Theseus? Didst not thou lead him through the glimmering night from Perigonia? This is the woman in Greek myth that Theseus ravished, raped, whom he ravished, and make him with fair Aeglus break his faith with Ariadne and Antiopa? Okay, Theseus is an old myth. He had a lot of affairs, just put it that way. These are the forgeries of jealousy. This isn't your problem. You don't really care about those, she says. And then we get some background. And the background is important. If you watched, I don't remember which one of the lectures. One of the lectures I talked about, the Elizabethan mentality, of you've got God up here, then there's a huge chasm between God and everything else, everything that's created. And then you have whatever the highest order of creation is, down to the lowest order. And all of this exists in a chain, metaphorically speaking. This doesn't get named until almost 100 years after Shakespeare, by John Dryden. It's called The Great Chain of Being, meaning existence. Everything is connected, in other words. All right? Tied in with that is this notion of correspondence or correspondences. Okay? And everything that happens and exists in the quote-unquote spiritual world has correspondences here. And everything that happens and exists among humans has correspondences in the animal world. And everything that happens exists in the, let's not say spiritual, let's say supernatural. Because on this great chain of being, at some point, there's humans. Slightly above us, but beneath the angels are elves. So everything that happens within the elvish realm has corresponding actions here. So if there's discord and disharmony in the elvish world, there's going to be discord and disharmony here. What have we just been told? Husband and wife, king and queen of the elvish realm, are full of discord. That has a corresponding effect in our world. And she describes then what else? Big long passage. 81 through all of them, through 117, are talking about the discord here, our world, and out there in the natural world. Both the animal plant world, crops are dying, trees and such are dying, abnormal weather. Okay? What is this an answer to? Why do bad things happen? Why are there earthquakes? There's a wrinkle or something happening in the great chain of being or among these correspondences. Okay? Hamlet is going to say, alas, time is out of joint. He's going to say, time is out of joint. Alas, that I was born to make it right. I'm the plug in the great chain. I've got to fix it so that everything exists properly and as it should. Okay? Oberon. Well, you can fix it then. You can make everything right with the world. It lies in you. Why should Titania cross her Oberon? And there's the second or third use of that verb cross. Where have we seen it before? When Hermia and Lysander were talking about love. The course of true love never did run smooth, and we hear about crossing, and Hermia says, this is how it's always been, and we have to do what? We have to make patience of our trials, okay? Why should you cross me? How should they be? Should their paths cross, metaphorically speaking? No. Their paths should do what? They should run side by side, parallel. It's Shakespeare's idea, let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediments. Their minds ought to be true to each other. Not true meaning not false. True meaning upright in facing the same and in the same direction, side by side. So, he says, I just want a little changeling boy. It's not much. Never thought of it. Literally, I never thought about this until just now. Could be huge theological stuff going on here. It's just a little test. Like, there's a tree with apples. It's just a little test. Obey me or don't. It's just a little boy. Like he's testing her. Set your heart at rest. Now notice there's a pause there. Why? Because that's the end of a sentence. Set your heart at rest. She might take a couple of seconds before she says the next line. Because set your heart at rest can't imply what? He's just said, I just want the boy. Set your heart at rest. That implies you'll get him. That's not what she says. The fairy land buys not the child of me. That is, the entire fairy realm is not enough to purchase the boy from me. Why? And that's when we're told about the boy's mother. What is Titania showing the boy's mother? Louder? Loyalty. She was loyal to me. She's repaying that loyalty. That's a good thing. Okay? How long in this wood do you intend to stay? Nice, short, sweet. Oberon's like, he's had it, man. Maybe till after Theseus's wedding day. Notice she doesn't say after Hippolytus. Why? Because Oberon's already implied she has the hots for Theseus, because he has the hots for Hippolyta. If you will patiently dance in our round and see our moonlight revels, go with us. If you will patiently. What does she mean by that? Because who's going to be involved in the dancing and the revels? The little Indian boy that he wants. So by telling him to patiently dance with them, you can look at him, you can see him, but he's not yours and you'll never get him. She's saying, suffer. Okay? Give me that boy and I'll go with you. Not for the fairy kingdom. Fairies away, we shall chide downright, if I longer stay. In other words, if we stay much longer, we're going to get in a big fight. And it's almost like she's saying, and I don't know that we'll be able to come back from it. Okay? So, they all leave. They all, Titania and her followers. Oberon, go thy way. Thou shalt not from this grove till I torment thee for this injury. Now you're going to suffer. So, he calls Puck. Puck comes forward. And he says, do you remember once I, blah, blah, and Puck says yes. And he says, Do you remember Cupid, all armed, and he shot his arrow, and his arrow landed in this plant? Do you remember where that arrow fell? It fell upon a little western flower, line 166. Before milk white, now purple with love's wound. And he's describing the flower's petals. It has white and purple in it. Okay? Maidens call it love and idleness. Fetch me that flower. It's a pansy, or also called heart's ease. Why? The herb I showed thee once, the juice of it on sleeping eyelids laid, will make man or woman madly dote upon the next live creature that it sees. It'll make the person upon whose eyes it is squeezed fall madly in dotage. Why does he use the word mad? Does it mean angry?
No reason behind it.
No reason. Total, like a crazy person. Totally insane in love. Bring it to me. Does he say what he's going to do with it? Not yet. He says, I'll put a girdle round about the earth in 40 minutes. Pretty fast, by the way. So he leaves. Oberon gets a soliloquy. Tells us in the audience. Once I have this, I'll find Titania when she's asleep and I'll drop it in her eyes. So that, we need to throw that in. The next thing then she waking looks upon, be it lion, bear, or wolf, or bull, on meddling monkey or on busy ape, she shall pursue it with the soul of love. So, think of the great chain of being. Elves are a little bit above humans. Animals are below us. He's going to make her skip the whole, humans and go straight to loving an animal. Elf, animal bestiality, so to speak. And she will pursue it with the soul of love. And before I take this charm off her side, what? I'll make her give up that little boy. In other words, we ain't leaving this wood till I have him. But who comes here? I am invisible. How do we know he's invisible? Because he's an elf and he has that power. Okay? Probably the best production I've ever seen was the first time my wife went to London. I was going there for a research trip. She came for 2 weeks. And we saw production at the Globe. It's not available on DVD, unfortunately. It's one of the most fantastic. And you had the exact same cast of actors playing the elves and humans. So Theseus was Oberon. Helena was Titania and such. And they were wearing what looked like pajamas. I don't know if they were meant to be pajamas or like prisoners' garb, because they were like blue and white striped. Okay? And they had sewn into their costuming, but are often just called fairy lights, like Christmas lights, the little small ones. And they had little buttons, little switches in their palms, so that when they were fairies, press the button and they're all lit up. Okay? So when he's talking, when all the fairies are on stage and just the fairies, they weren't lit up. Humans enter and he goes, I am invisible. And he lights up. And he's just standing off to the side watching this as the humans come in. Okay? Who comes in? Okay, where are they, first of all? They're in the wood. So anything irrational, anything that doesn't make sense can happen. It's going to happen here. Demetrius comes in. I love thee not. What? Leaving aside the elves, what was happening before Demetrius said that? With Demetrius and whoever is with him. This isn't the opening of a conversation. This is part of a long-standing conversation. It's like, they're not just at the, ooh, there's the wood. And they take a step in and he says that. Helena's been, but I love you so much. Shut up. I love thee not. Pursue me not. Where is Lysander and fair Hermia? The one I'll slay, the other slayeth me. Notice two very different meanings there. You told me they were in this wood, and here am I, and wood within this wood. Okay? Wood, the first one, means mad, crazy. It comes from the Old English woad. What are you? Go away. No, go away. And he's crazy because he can't find his Hermia. You draw me, you hard-hearted adamant. You've got a gloss down there, how adamant, lodestone, magnet. So she's saying like, I'm steel to your magnet, and wherever you go, I'm gonna, a little creepy when you think about it. Yet you draw not iron from my heart as true as steel, leave you your, notice that true as steel. Leave you your power to draw, and I shall have no power to follow you. Well, how does he leave his power to draw her? I mean, rationally, intellectually speaking. If he's dead, I mean, she'll no longer follow him, because that would be even more weird. Do I entice you? What does he mean? Is he doing anything? Is he acting in any way to say, Helena? No. Do I speak you fair? Do I speak fair to you? Do I speak beautifully to you? Do I praise your beauty and such? Rather, do I not in plainest truth tell you I do not nor I cannot love you? And even for that I love you the more. Get a grip, Helena. Why? It goes back to what we were first told about Helena and Demetrius. She is quote unquote bewitched. Not literally. He won her heart when he made sweet love to her. Okay? So she goes on, I'll be your spaniel, beat me, etc. There's possibly some weird stuff going on, but I don't really think so. Tempt not too much the hatred of my spirit, for I am sick when I do look on you. And I'm sick when I don't look on you. She's describing literal Elizabethan medical diagnosis. Love sickness. If people started acting strange, depending on their actions, they could be diagnosed with love sickness. Love sickness was demonstrated. I'll use a man as an example, because you're supposed to go out, and you go out in public among men and women, you wear a hat, okay? You've got your doublet all tied up, you've got your hose pulled up, your garters tied, you've got your overcoat and stuff, if you're wealthy and high class, your ruffs on your sleeves are all nicely pulled out, everything's even. You fall madly, crazily in love, and you start forgetting how to properly dress. You don't wear a hat, you don't have your shirt tied, you don't have your doublet buttoned up just right, so you go off, half dressed, so to speak, and you're like, mad for love, as Polonius puts it in Hamlet. Okay? Those are examples of love sickness. So Demetrius then kind of pulls out what he thinks will be a pretty important argument for why she should go back home. You do impeach your modesty too much to leave the city and commit yourself into the hands of one that loves you not, to trust the opportunity of night and the ill counsel of a desert place with the rich worth of your virginity. What's he talking about? I'm a young man, good looking, a lot of wealth, some power. You're a beautiful young woman, good name to you, still a virgin, he's assuming. And here we are, out in the woods, all alone. And I'm stronger than you are. She impeaches her modesty, meaning you have put your modesty in danger. This is threatening language. He's saying, I could take you, I could rape you if I wanted to. Not a new idea, obviously, by any means. We have a character in Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, a poem we're going to, those of you in my Britlet 1 course, we're going to read where, Sir Gawain essentially says to this beautiful young lady who's trying to seduce him, yeah, you should come in and do this because I'm bigger and stronger and more proud. And she's like, go ahead, take me. Nobody could turn you down. So, your virtue is my privilege. I know you are virtuous. Your virtue is my law. My right by law is kind of what privilege means. She's saying, you couldn't do what you threaten even if you wanted to. And what she means by that is not, he's gay. She means you have that within you which would not allow you to stoop so low. For that it is not night when I do see your face. He has just said, here we are, it's in the dark. She said, when I look at your face, what? I don't think I'm in the night. What does she mean? You are the sun to me. When I look at you, all I see is brightness and light. She has it really, really, really bad for him, okay? Nor doth this wood lack worlds of company, for you in my respect are all the world. This is a Renaissance commonplace idea. Two lovers together. John Donne has a poem where, the speaker essentially says to the beloved, wherever we are, that is the whole world. Why? Because we are all peoples. We are all worlds. We are all countries. This little room, the line says, is an everywhere. I look at you and I see what? I don't only see you, I see everything. I see everything that is or was or will ever be. Why? You are my everything. So, for you in my respect are all the world, then how can it be said I am alone when all the world is here to look upon me? I'll run from you. He's like, damn, I tried, I can't get her. She's like, a barnacle on an old boat. She just won't fall off. I'll hide me in the wilderness, leave you to the mercy of wild beasts. She says, the wildest hath not such a heart as you. That's kind of her first ding at him. Not even a wild beast could be as cruel as you are. And what she's implying is, fine, let the lion come eat me. That will be a mercy compared to what you're doing. Today's Monday, right?
Yeah.
They don't usually do those on Mondays. They're usually Wednesday afternoons. Hopefully that doesn't mean anything. So, Demetrius leaves. Helena, I'll follow thee and make a heaven of hell to die upon the hand I love so well. What hand is she going to die upon? Her own? His? But I find what is interesting is I'll make a heaven of hell. If he's gone, that's hell. She's going to somehow turn that into heaven. Oberon, then when she leaves, Oberon steps forth. Fare thee well. What does he call her?
Nymph.
What's a nymph?
Nature spirit.
Nature spirit, a minor goddess. Okay? What is Oberon saying about Helena? Oh, honey, you are worth so much more than this lousy POS, No. Ere he do leave this grove, thou shalt fly him, and he shall seek thy love. In other words, I'm going to turn the tables. I'm going to make it so that you don't love him, and he is wildly, madly in love with you, and you don't acknowledge him. That's what he's saying now. It's not going to be what happens. Okay? Puck comes in. He gives Oberon the flower. And Oberon says some lines. He talks about there's a bank near a river, and he says, Titania sleeps there sometimes. Here's what I want you to do. He says, with this juice, I'll streak her eyes and make her full of hateful fantasies. Take you some of it and seek through this grove. So Oberon's saying, I'm going to do this to Titania. It's going to change in a bit. But he says, for now, take some of this and go find a sweet Athenian lady with a disdainful youth, full of disdain. Disdain. What is disdain the same as not liking someone? No. He doesn't recognize her worth. Okay? Anoint his eyes, but do it when the next thing he espies may be the lady. So, put the drops in his eyes so that when he wakes up, first thing he sees is this sweet Athenian lady. Here's how you'll know him. He's wearing Athenian clothes. Kind of makes sense. What doesn't he do? He doesn't give a name. Okay? He doesn't give a facial description. So Puck says, I'll do it. 2-2. We get Titania. She comes in, okay, with her fairies. Titania falls asleep. Oberon said, sorry, I misspoke earlier. I said, that he tells Puck to do this, but he's going to do it. Oberon comes in. Titania doesn't see him because she's asleep. Go away. What thou seest when thou dost wake, do it for thy true love's sake. Take love and languish for his sake. That's the Liebestod idea kind of that I mentioned the other day. Love and death are tied together. Be it ounce or cat or bear, part or boar, with bristled hair, in thy eye that shall appear when thou wakest, it is thy dear. Notice again, where is the love? Where is the beauty? It's up here, it's in the eyes. Wake when some vile thing is near. Okay? He leaves. Lysander and Hermia come in. Do they see the sleeping queen of the fairies and go, shh, we should talk quiet? No, they don't see her. They talk back and forth. Lysander says, let's lay down here. We'll rest us, Hermia, if you think it good, and tarry for the comfort of the day. That is, tarry to bring comfort for the day. They're tired. They've been on their feet a long time. Cool. Lysander, you go find a bed, and I'll rest here upon this bank. Rest my head over here. One turf shall serve as pillow for us both. No. We'll lie together. We'll use this one kind of swollen, this grass that's growing up to put our heads on. One heart, one bed, two bosoms, one troth. What's the one troth mean?
Faithful vow.
They're quote unquote engaged to each other. Okay? One heart, one bed. Why? The two shall be one. It hasn't happened yet. Nay, good Lysander, for my sake, lie further off yet. Do not lie so near. Why does she say for my sake? Could mean one of two things.
It's either she wants to maintain her virtue and not be tempted, or
That's definitely one. Your eyes just went kind of, why?
Well, because she would be tempted and she would be able to.
She would be tempted to initiate something. What's the other possibility?
he would.
Or he would be tempted to initiate something. So when she says for my sake, it's ambiguous. But remember what Theseus said to her. Know your blood. Whether you can forever give up the company of men. She might be saying, and there's a reason why I'm here in the wood with you. I can't give up the company of men. You better not lie down right next to me, or our company will become that much more closer over there until we get married. Lysander, no. Oh, take the sense. In other words, no, you've misconstrued what I said. When I said one heart, one bed, two bosoms, one troth, I wasn't implying, and the two shall be one. Take the sense, sweet, of my innocence. Love takes the meaning in love's conference. That's a slight chiding. I didn't mean sex. I didn't mean let's lie down together and have sex. He says, I mean that my heart unto yours is knit, tied together. So that but one heart we can make of it. Notice, not one heart we have made. Like, we're already, common law marriage. We've already married each other up here. So we can go ahead. It's not what he's saying. It's the opposite. He says no. Two bosoms interchained with an oath. Bosoms, hearts. There is a chain that ties them together. What's the oath? I love you. I love you. Will you marry me? Yes, I will. So then, two bosoms and a single troth, a single vow. Then by your side, no bedroom, room for a bed, me deny. For lying so, and Shakespeare puns here, Samuel Johnson, writer about 150 years after Shakespeare, said Shakespeare never met a pun he didn't like. If he could pun on something, he's going to. Okay? For lying so, being horizontal with you, I do not lie. That is, I won't try anything. Lysander riddles very prettily. In other words, who do you have a sweet talking tongue? You? That's pretty good. Now much beshrew my manners and my pride. In other words, forgive me for what I might have said before. If Hermia meant to say Lysander lied. Why? For my sake. She's kind of admitting here, if you're right next to me, I'm not going to be able to keep my hands off you. Lie, but gentle friend, for love and courtesy, proper behavior, proper manners, lie further off, in human modesty. Such separation as may well be said, becomes a virtuous bachelor and a maid. So far be distant. Okay? Separate us. Good night, sweet friend. Thy love near altar till thy sweet life end. What is she talking about? Thy love near altar till thy sweet life end. I alluded to it the other day when we were talking about the end of Shakespeare's sonnet. Until the end, the edge of doom, till death do us part. She says, don't alter, change your love. He says in that sonnet 116, love alters not when it alteration finds. Well, what's going to happen? Very shortly, love is really going to be altered. Okay? And what does he say? Amen, amen. To that fair prayer say I. He takes what she has said to be a prayer. Amen, amen. Truly, truly, verily, verily. And then end life when I end loyalty. If I change my loyalty, if I turn from you, then may my life end. In other words, till death do us part. Here's my bed. Sleep give thee all his rest, the god of sleep, Orpheus. Okay? Hermia, with half that wish, the wisher's eyes be pressed. Half. Yeah, there's part of her that still doesn't want to go to sleep. So, Puck comes in. 11:36. What's he see? Sweet Athenian maid, Athenian youth. He says, who is here? He talks about it. He applies the love juice into Lysander's eyes. Not a problem, right? Because who's the first person he will see? Assuming nobody else enters the scene. It'll be Hermia. It's like their love will be that much greater. Puck leaves, and Demetrius and Helena come running in. Okay? Demetrius leaves. Helena talks on and on. Just won't shut up. And Lysander wakes up. Who has Helena not seen? Right? Yeah, happy is Hermia wheresoever she lies. It's like she's over there hiding in the bushes, but she's not literally. Helena keeps talking. Lysander wakes up. She says, because she sees him, but who is here? Lysander, on the ground, dead or asleep? I see no blood, no wound. Lysander, if you live, good sir, awake. And I've seen multiple productions of this, and sometimes she gets down on her knees, she's thinking, Lysander, Lysander, wake up. And other times she's just talking to him. Good sir, awake, and run through fire I will for thy sweet sake. Now what should Helena immediately know? What? Transparent Helena. Transparent means goddess-like, supernatural. Nature shows art that through thy bosom makes me see thy heart. Nature shows, demonstrates art. He says, I look at you, and what do I see? I see both artifice and nature at the same. He's talking about nature, not that kind of nature, the goddess. When nature made you, she made your heart visible, not literally. Where's Demetrius? Oh, how fit a word is that vile name to perish on my sword. He said bad things, I'm going to kill him for that. Do not say so, Lysander. Say not so. What though he love your Hermia? Lord, what though? Your Hermia still loves you. Be content. I mean, come on. Be happy. Someone loves you. She's sitting there going, the one I love hates me. He goes, content with Hermia? No, I do repent the tedious minutes I with her have spent. What does tedious literally mean?
Boring.
Minute by minute by minute is like, oh my God, all the time, all the life I've wasted with her. Not Hermia, but Helena I love, who will not change a raven, Hermia, for a dove. What's the difference between ravens and doves? Ooh, ooh. Doves make soft, pleasing sounds, and they're cuddly. Ravens aren't. Okay? The will of man is by his reason swayed. This is an Aristotelian idea. We have these three main faculties. You've got reason, you've got will, you've got emotion. Reason is supposed to bear control, and it was based upon where is reason based? Up here in the brain. It's at the top of the body. Where is the will? It's in the chest. Where is emotion and such? Lower down. Okay? Spleen, etc. The will of man is by his reason swayed, and reason says you are the worthier made. How so? Things growing are not ripe until their season. Well, yeah, duh. So I, being young, till now, ripe not to reason. Things growing are not ripe until their season. He's saying, yesterday I wasn't ripe. Today I am. Meaning my reason has grown up. And I look at you and go, wow. How could I ever have loved Hermia when I see you? And touching now the point of human skill, skill meaning the ability to determine between one thing and something else. reason becomes the marshal to my will. That is, reason becomes the captain, the general to my will. It says, will, desire, volition. Look at Helena. That's who you want. And leads me to your eyes, where I overlook love's stories written in love's richest book. Well, why use the metaphor or the image of book? Is it enough just to look at the cover? What do you have to do? You got to open that book and you dive into it. You peruse, you read all the words. What's he saying he's going to do with Helena if he's given the opportunity? It's not sex. He's just going to sit there and look in her eyes. And it's like, everything there is to know is right there. You got it a bit, man. That's some good romantic language. I mean, I imagine some of Shakespeare's audience are going, wiping brows. And she, why? Wherefore was I to this keen mockery born? What does she think is going on? He's making fun, he's playing with her. Put yourself in Helena's shoes for a moment. The man you wildly love, the man who got you to love him, now thinks you're, on the bottom of his soul. And now the other guy who had a happy love now says he loves you. What do? If you're me, both of them go find, person C. She thinks this game is being played. Okay? They go back and forth. She leaves. Lysander leaves and says she doesn't see Hermia. He sees Hermia. He remembers why they're there, and he's kind of like, go away. And he leaves. And we'll pick up with the beginning of Act 3, which is a clown scene. Why? What do we need after Act 2? We need some levity. We need something light. We need some frivolity. And we're going to see a guy who is an ass become an ass. There is a quiz up for this class.